Oh. Hello, Tadpole B. I just wanted to say why I wasn't there today. Well, that is because Microsoft saw our video. Yes, Microsoft saw our video. They contacted me and said, hey, you want to make a video about Windows? I said no. And then they bought our presentation for $72. So, now, I'm going to be talking about the history of Windows. Against my will. Let's get into it. If you're a member of the tech community, you've obviously heard of Windows before. If not, then you should probably click off this video and learn about it. I will be talking about all 16 versions of Windows. Yes, there are 16, and I will be talking about them in chronological order. There's so much gaming shit. I guess it's fun. They kicked me out of the other room, but there are these comfy gaming chairs, so yeah. First up is MS-DOS. It came out in the early 80s. It wasn't called Windows, yeah, but Windows didn't have a purpose to exist. It didn't. Yeah, so back then it was mainly command line. White text on black screen. Most of the people who used it as 13-year-olds are now in their 50s. Can you believe it? However, this is definitely not the Windows we know and love today. Meanwhile, the Xerox Alto was around 8 years old and provided a nice and not really shiny graphical interface. It kind of looked like what we know and love today, and Steve Jobs fell in love with it. He asked Xerox if they were going to do anything with it, and they felt that they didn't think the GUI would go anywhere. Steve Jobs then released the Macintosh alongside Apple and proved Xerox wrong. When do we talk about Microsoft? Right now! Yeah, no fancy editing, mainly because, like I said, we were bought by Microsoft. Windows 1.0 was created for the sole purpose of being Miss Digital America 1985. To sit on top of the workouts that was MS-DOS. It colors, yeah, but, only on some monitors. It was released in 1985. It had a variety of bundled apps, including some that are still in Windows today. This included Notepad, Write, which became WordPad, Paint, the clock, and a calendar. Also, these windows couldn't even be moved. They were just permanently glued together, like split screen, but you couldn't unsplit screen it. Look what they got. They got my little tag. Looks really nice. Moving on. 2 years later, Microsoft released a Windows 2.0, which provided visual improvements. As well as the ability to move windows. The main application was known as MS-DOS Executive, which contained a list of applications which were used to, do stuff. This could be similar to how things worked in MS-DOS, where you click /type an application /command, and it did something. Only in a GUI, you were lazy and weren't able to type a few letters. However, Windows, slowly yet surely, became more and more independent from its MS-DOS origin. Windows 3.0 came out in the year 1990, and with it came some massive changes. First of all, the program manager metamorphosized into the program manager. It was not the program manager before. Haha, I tricked you. It was the MS-DOS executive before, if you were paying attention. Carson. Tyler Hanna. Yes, those two. Anyways. Program manager. It was introduced. It replaced the MS-DOS executive. And boy, these chairs are really comfy. Oh my god. All the apps were revamped with a new theme and maximize buttons. Still have to go to another menu with a close button. Alright, let's move on. Windows 3.1 was a small upgrade to Windows 3.0, and with it came some petty origins. It was unable to run on PC-DOS. It had code known as the AARD code. Bet you didn't know about it. But PC-DOS and MS-DOS were bitter rivals. So, petty Microsoft.
Hey, wait a minute. Jill Banks here. We are not petty.
Yeah, you bought my presentation for $72. Anyway, I take that back. We decided to prevent anyone from accessing Windows 3.1 if they had PC-DOS. Windows NT was a release of Windows that branched into its own SKU of release versions, spouting from 1993. Windows NT 3.1, 3.51, and 4.0 were released. Windows, new technology, was based to be a version of Windows that was independent from MS-DOS. Around the time that happened, Windows 95 brought a major shift into the Windows environment, replacing the program manager with the taskbar, start menu, and start button. People fell in love with this new and improved GUI, and Microsoft spent a lot of money on commercializing it. Lightning Round. Windows 98 was released in the year 1998 and introduced internet and multimedia capabilities, because that was what was hot at the time, which wound up with a lawsuit to Microsoft. Microsoft got a lawsuit. Hear that, Jill Bakes? You got a lawsuit. What? It was in the year 1998. Calm down. Okay. Yeah. Windows 98 was also kind of a flop. So Windows 98 SE was released in the year 1999. Microsoft said that Windows 98 would be the last version of Windows on MS-DOS, but they lied. Common theme. Jill's not looking at me, she knows. Alright. Microsoft released Windows ME, for me, which was built on MS-DOS, and Windows 2000, which was built on NT. Windows ME is disliked now, and both were little to no comparison, to the average Joe at least, to the next version of Windows, Windows XP. Microsoft's next version of Windows, Windows XP, was unrivaled. It brought a major, yes, another major shift into the Windows UI. Unlike most versions of Windows, this one brought with it the Luna theme, which was pretty nostalgic for a lot of people. Windows XP, such a huge success. Then came Windows Longhorn. Windows Longhorn was a canceled version of Windows. Basically, yeah, failed development right down the drain. And then from its ashes came Windows Vista. Windows Vista was released in 2007. And with it brought some negative feedback. It wasn't Windows Vista's fault. It was slow, buggy, and crashed a lot. More or less the hardware. Because of Windows Vista's massive failure, Microsoft then came up with Windows 7. Windows 7 was released in 2009. It was the peak. It brought the Aero interface, basically glass and all that fun stuff, to its height. A lot of people loved it, and it was the first operating system that I have ever used. People still use Windows 7 to this day. And it might be older than some of the people who are watching this, if they're on YouTube. Now it's time to talk about Windows 8. Windows 8 released in 2012. It revamped a lot. So yeah, the start button, start menu's gone, replaced with the start screen. And yeah, people hated it. Windows 8.1, which was released the following year, they brought back the start button, which, I mean, it's a start. Yes. They had plans for Windows 8.1, but, you know, when Windows 10 rolled around, they were kind of scrapped. Windows 10 reintroduced the start menu with Metro features. This was in 2015. It was the most recent operating system for 6 years, 2015 to 2021. Now, it's time for the final part. Part 4, the 2020s, Windows 11 and the future. First, let me talk about Windows 11, Microsoft's most recent Windows version at the time of recording. Well, Windows 11 brought everything to the center, removed live tiles and all that, Metro fun, and yeah, just modernized everything with a new theme. However, there is one thing about this. Yeah, you couldn't move the taskbar to the sides or on the top anymore. And its acceptance rate is lower than Windows Vista. I think I read that in an article. However, last things last, the future. Now, what are my thoughts on the future of Windows? Well, first of all, Windows is probably gonna become more and more like Mac, and Mac is probably become more and more like Windows. So eventually we're gonna reach some sort of center point between the two where they're just so similar you can't tell the difference. In this Windows 12 leaked screenshot, you can see a lot of the UI is similar to Mac. Spotlight, the fact that time's up to there, centered buttons, yeah, a lot of stuff is very Mac. And yeah, it's just going to become more and more like Mac. So, yes, I am finally done with the presentation. Okay, I am currently running from Microsoft headquarters. Oh, yes, they're chasing me right now. Alright, this one is the history of Windows. Yeah, I will see you in another presentation, who knows. Bye.